Now from King of Bucks Television, it's Tales of the King. Amazing stories from hunters just like you. Kootenay Lake in British Columbia is one of the more scenic spots within the range of the white-tailed deer. Deep, cold water ringed with majestic mountains presents a picture postcard outlook. But there is a darker aspect to those seemingly calm waters. A tragedy occurred here decades ago, an unfortunate accident that curiously intersects with the history of white-tailed deer in North America.
When I finally was able to get this thing mounted, I was pretty excited. I was pretty impressed with it. Needed to get some pictures just to get the nature of this whole thing. Tried to get my wife involved to get her picture, and it didn't go over very well. She certainly wasn't enjoying that fact that I had that deer head. You can see the difference between my smile and her smile. I think that tells a story right there. She wasn't too keen on it.
Meet Randy Smith, born and raised in the mountain valleys of British Columbia. The mount that clearly displeased his wife was not his. He inherited it from his father, Harold.
It's the only thing I really had of my dad, so I took them and brought them to Kimberley. And they sat in the outside shed for quite a while, until we put them up in the porch. They served many years holding up hats and toques and scarves and mittens. When I got married, my mom was glad to get rid of them. Take this, go, you can have them, get them out of my house.
It's an absolutely massive deer. With 32 scorable points and over 70 inches of abnormal points, this was clearly going to be one for the record books.
My dad was killed in Kootenay Lake when I was only 9 years old, so I don't have a lot of recollection of things about my dad. In 1956, I think it was November 15th, my dad was working at a place called Ty, which is a logging camp on the other side of Kootenay Lake. The only way he could get to the camp was either by train or by boat. There was 8 of them on board the boat. They hit a dead head in the water, flipped the boat, and all 8 of them were killed.
Randy was 9 years old when his father Harold died. Despite the protests of his mother and later his wife, he kept the unmounted rack. It was all he had of his father's legacy.
That was one of the only things that I had at that time. I mean, Mom brought all the rifles and that, but I didn't know about them then. You know, she wasn't about to give them to a 9-year-old, but the deer head was kind of mine. Now it's mine.
Fast forward several decades. Recognizing the significance of the deer, Randy Smith passed the original rack on, and it has now taken its place with the other great whitetails of the world as part of the King of Bucks collection. But it had never been officially scored, and with a head this significant, that was going to be a very big deal.
We have 25, 26, and 3/8 inches.
Our awards programs are broken into 3-year periods. We receive between 4,000 and 5,000 entries in that 3 years, and those are all reviewed and accepted or rejected, whatever it may be. We take the top 5 of each category and invite those to come and be panel verified. We're not looking to penalize shrinkage or anything, we're just purely checking procedure.
The panel scoring in anticipation of the Boone and Crockett 28th Big Game Awards is about as big as it gets in trophy big game. Included in this stellar array of trophies was the Harold Smith buck.
The Harold Smith buck. Killed in 1950 by Harold Smith, this buck was kind of lost in time. It's the new number 9 in the world. back then there wasn't a QDMA, there wasn't a management program put into place, a co-op of landowners that were only going to shoot mature deer. These bucks got to the size that they were by genetics and by having the age structure to get there.
With an official Boone and Crockett panel score of 279 3/8, it is the 16th largest deer in the whitetail records, and it's the new provincial record for whitetail deer in British Columbia.
This is a feature that almost gets lost in the deer, this big drop tine coming off of his left main beam and the flyers coming off of his 2s and his 3s. Just the character that this deer has and the mass on both sides. Big long G2s with forks, just an amazing buck. This King of Bucks collection stands out. It's some of the best whitetails in the world that have ever been taken, with numerous state records, with world records, and the most amazing part about it is every buck in the collection is authentic, actual horns. There's not a replica in the bunch. When you're looking at it, you're looking at the actual deer, the way it was killed, when it was killed.
And what would Harold Smith think of all this fuss being made of a deer he killed so many years ago?
I think he'd be pretty impressed. He'd be a little bewildered, I think, by all the fuss made about this set of deer horns, but I think he'd be pretty impressed with the fact that other people are seeing it the way they're seeing it now. It's such an awesome trophy.
How cool would it have been to have met Harold Smith and heard the story behind this buck? You know, was he out trophy hunting? Was he hunting for horns? Did he know this buck was there? Or was he just out trying to put food on the table for his family? We may never know, and we probably will never know the real story behind this buck. But Harold Smith, regardless, his name is going to go down in history with this monster whitetail that he killed in British Columbia in 1950.